All right, all right. So good morning, everyone, and welcome to our diversity, inclusion, and equity. Make sure I share all of that. Yay! Awesome blossom. So we are coming to the conclusion of our Engaging with Diversity, Inclusion, and Equity series with Danielle. I'm going to direct you again to our chat box. Please sign in and choose your language. At the bottom, choose the globe. And if you need language interpretation, go ahead and choose that. I'm going to ask Carmen to share that with you, please.
Buenos días a todos y bienvenidos a la reunión. Si están viendo la reunión en un teléfono celular o una tableta, abajito en su tablero a mano derecha van a mirar 3 puntitos donde dice More o más y ahí van a poder elegir la interpretación y el idioma de su preferencia. Si están en una computadora o laptop, abajito en su tablero van a mirar un símbolo de un mundo y elegir la interpretación y luego el idioma de preferencia. Gracias.
Gracias, Carmen. Thank you. If you're not able to use the sign-in link that is in our chat box, you can go ahead and use the QR code to sign in. You can scan that right now. That will be in our, well, that's right here. So go ahead and scan that if you need it to sign in. If we want to include everyone, we have to help everyone develop their talents and use their gifts for the good of the community. That's what inclusion means. Everyone contributes. So inspirational word for today. Today, we're going to be talking about cultivate an inclusive work environment through employee resource groups. And I'm going to turn this over right now to Danielle Johnson, who will conclude with our conversation today. And Danielle, I'm going to turn this over to you.
Thank you. So I'm going to go ahead and prepare to share my screen. Please let me know if you can't see or hear something. You know, me and technology sometimes don't get along well. So let me make sure everyone's on the same page here. Okay. Can everybody see that? Okay.
Yes.
Give me a second. Okay. All right. Well, happy Friday, everyone. Like shared, my name is Danielle Johnson, and I have the pleasure of serving as your conversation catalyst this morning. For those of you that have tuned in the past, you already know what a conversation catalyst is, but I'll brush us up. I've not been with you all the last 2 sessions. Hopefully, for those of you that are returning, you enjoyed Miss Shauna Siobhan Stevens, who is a subcontractor for Inclusive Growth Strategy. She brings an energy that I absolutely love and respect. So I'm excited to be back with you all today. But a conversation catalyst is a person or event that causes great change. And oftentimes in diversity, equity, and inclusion work, we are looking to create and continue great change. So those of you that are in the DEI work, both formally or informally, I'm really grateful that you all are here today to continue to do that work, because it is certainly not easy, and particularly in this time frame, it can feel a little daunting. So I want to start there with a brief introduction. It's important for us to be able to co-create the space, and I hope that you all feel comfortable in utilizing some of the stuff that you are witnessing today as well. I'll have some conversational expectations. When we lean into diversity, equity, and inclusion work, it's important to create a space where everyone feels like they can engage and understanding that it is a learning space. So what are some of those expectations? Well, as a facilitator, I do reserve the right to halt the discussion and maintain order. There have been a number of discussions that I've been able to be a part of, all of which folks might not always agree, but certainly respect has been at the forefront of those discussions. So we want to make sure that we maintain a level of respect and understanding in this space. Be present and respectful in this learning space. We have about an hour and a half today. And so you all signed up for this. I don't believe it's mandatory, or maybe some of your organizations have it as mandatory, but you will get out what you gain and put in, right? So my hope is that you are with me today. You're on the screen if you can. I know not all of us are in a place or space to maybe be on the screen, but I would invite you to join us on the screen so we can just kind of see some faces and body language as we move forward. Also, I would invite you to minimize the email pages and maybe all the other screens you got going on in the background so that you can be as present as you possibly can. Lean in, which is one of my favorite things. Oftentimes we don't like to lean into discomfort, and diversity, equity, inclusion topics can be just that. They can be uncomfortable, but I ask that we lean in a little bit more and be open to engaging with one another. We will have maybe 1 or 2 small group breakouts for you to engage with one another. So I'm certain the conversation will be more fruitful if you're able to engage and lean into discomfort, if you will. Wait, why am I talking? Why am I not talking? Some of us are a little bit more introverted than others. Maybe some of us are a little bit more outgoing. That being said, my hope is that we get the opportunity to hear from each other. We have quite a few folks on the screen today, so we certainly won't hear from everyone, but hopefully in your small groups, you are able to engage a little bit more. 1 mic, 1 person speak at a time. Land the plane, one of my personal favorites. Please ask your question, say your statement. We're going to treat this as a learning environment. We're not going to act like we are all knowing. While there may be other diversity, equity, and inclusion practitioners on the screen, being open to this learning space goes a long way. So I ask that you just ask the question and give each other some grace as we ask questions and learn from one another today. And in that landing the plane, we're going to assume good intent, because it's easy to make assumptions about one another's backgrounds, who we believe folks to be, but we're going to assume good intent while also understanding and respecting that freedom of speech is not freedom from consequence. Sometimes we do step in it, or we put our foot in our mouth, and that's okay. An apology goes a long way, and a willingness to continue to learn and change the behavior, right? Correct the incident or the accident is also important. And then lastly, stories stay, lessons leave. I hope we learn from one another today, and that we're able to take the principles away from the stories that we'll share with one another, but not take these stories out of this space as gossip. Again, please feel free to utilize these conversational expectations in your own discussions, be it staff, at home, around the dinner table with your kids, whatever that looks like. This just helps to create a space for folks to be able to engage in whatever topics you might be engaging in your workspaces. I also believe in leaning into mindfulness. There may be some mindfulness gurus on the page today, those of us that love to breathe. Breathing goes a long way. Deep breathing, you might consider, how often are you taking in a full breath and letting out a full breath? You never realize how shallow of a breather you can be when you're not taking the time. And that really helps your body too, getting that air circulating, getting that oxygenated blood throughout your system is really important. So whatever you need to do to be as present with me today, please feel free to do so, be it a stretch, a roll of the neck, or maybe even just some deep breaths so that you're as present as you can be. And I would really love for you to root yourself in this particular quote: the culture of a workplace. An organization's values, norms, and practices has a huge impact on our happiness and success. Many of us spend a lot of our time on the job. And whether you're hybrid or not, right? Maybe you're in the 4 walls of your business, your organization, or you are working from home. We spend a lot of time on the job, and what the success of that space looks like can creep into our personal, professional lives, how we show up at home after we get off of work. So the tone that's set in that space, the practices and the norms are so important when it comes to whether or not you belong or feel included in that space. So if you could just be reflective of what is the culture of your organization. When you think about the things that stand out, your mission statement, your value statements, the things that you say that you all do on paper in your organization, what does that look like? I'm going to share a little bit. So outside of inclusive growth strategies, I also have the proud pleasure of serving as the executive director for Wichita Habitat for Humanity. And Habitat for Humanity is an international organization where we really believe that everyone deserves a decent place to live. And we serve that, well, like I say, my ministry, through affordable housing. So we get to work with partner families to get them engaged in owning a home with a 0% interest loan. Affordable housing being that those pay 30% of their income goes to their mortgage and their utilities. And we want to make sure that they have a quality, safe, affordable place. So that's what we do for Habitat and Habitat across the world. Some other things that are really important. I've been in this job for almost 2 years at this point, and it was when I interviewed to the job to getting the job, the values and the culture were very clear, very clarified. And some of those things are safety, because we do have a job site. We work alongside families to build homes. So we believe in safety on the job site with our volunteers, with our construction crew, all of that. We have a restore, which is basically like, if you've never been to a Habitat restore, a cross between Goodwill and a Home Depot. So some gently used items and some new items that we sell, but we believe in safety on our restore shop floor. But we also believe in psychological safety within the organization. We believe that folks need to be able to be honest and upfront if they have questions, if they make mistakes. We want people to be clear and upfront, because if people are not upfront in a safety space, if they don't feel like they can tell you something is happening, we don't want to build something that's not structurally sound, right? So we believe in physical and psychological safety. We are big Brené Brown fans. So braving trust is something that comes up in our staff meetings in our organization. We love the saying, clear is kind. You don't need to guess with the staff member. You just need to be very clear with what the instructions are, very clear with what you're being asked to do. We are also Patrick Lencioni fans. So The Ideal Team Player is a book that when we hire folks, we encourage folks to read that particular book. We are also a big global leadership summit organization. So Craig Rochelle, that kind of goes more into the spiritual side, but we are a non-proselytizing organization. So while we tend to be Christian in nature, at Habitat, we're still open to faith or no faith or interfaith. But that's just something that the Habitat hat has. And then we are big employee assistance programs. We are thinking about the mental, not just the social and physical health of our employees, but how's the mental health of your employees. And as we lean into that space, that helps to create an environment for folks to understand what our culture and our clarified values are. So when you think about your culture, clarified values, your vision statements, your mission statements, where does that fall for you? And as you are really kind of thinking about that, I'm going to drop some of these things in the chat. Be kind of thinking about these particular questions. I'm going to put you all in breakout rooms. You'll have about 10 minutes to be able just to share with one another your organization. So just thinking about on a scale of 1 to 5, how would you rate the inclusion and belonging of your work environment? From a scale of 1 to 5, right? 1 being low, 5 being high level of inclusion and belonging, but nothing is perfect, continuing to lean in and get better. And again, we want to be respectful of each other. You may know where folks work. This is not to be a place or space to talk bad about our organizations, but just from your vantage point, where would you say that you would rate the belonging and inclusion? If that's something that your organization is working on, what's that rating system for you today in your environment? And then secondly, what are you doing well in creating a culture of inclusion and belonging? So maybe your organizations are already in that space, creating that culture. Maybe you've done it for years, or maybe it's, you know what, we've not done much around that. These are new concepts to my organization. This is just a learning opportunity for us to hear from one another. And then if you can identify someone that might share out, obviously we're going to have a lot of groups. So I might hear from 2 or 3, but if you can just be prepared for someone that will share what you talked about. Questions before I hit the breakout button for you all. All right, again, feel free to engage with one another. I'm going to open up the rooms. Might be a little bit of a slower process. We'll get it going. Right, everybody get over here. Some rooms are a little off.
Okay, I think everyone been assigned to a room?
Yeah.
Okay. And how long?
It's about 10 minutes.
Okay.
It's a little heavier.
All right.
I'll be right back, ladies
Okay.
and gentlemen.
Yeah, him too. Danielle,
Yes.
did you set the timer or should I have one set on my side?
There's a timer on it.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm trying to get.
Okay, great. I'm gonna run and get me some coffee. I'll be right back if you need me.
Okay.
Oh, Jacqueline, join. Jacqueline is going to ask for help. Okay. Jacqueline in room 7 asked for help.
Huh. Like what does she mean?
I'll go and ask. I don't know.
I can.
That's where we kind of discuss. Okay, well, bye, you guys.
Okay.
Oh, I thought they
Jack-
were leaving. Okay, no, so we have like meetings and stuff like that. So that's where we'll share, things that we need help in or things that we need to work on and stuff like that.
Oh, that's good.
So yeah, that's pretty much
Jacqueline,
how
you
we
asked.
do it.
Yeah, we needed the questions, but they just shared them. So thank you.
Okay. Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you, Bonita, for sharing. It sounds
They just needed help with the questions.